All right. I think we're live. Push 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 822, Micromobility Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. There's a docket in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with and reference. If you want to join the panel, there's a Zoom link in the chat. Just make sure you update your Zoom client before joining. And we'll get started. Just give me about 30 seconds. Let me pull up the docket and then we'll get going. Let me share my screen and we can get started. Hey, what's going on, Complex?
What's good, Mike?
I'm chilling, bro. You?
Chilling.
All right. Let me know if you can see the screen. We can get started.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, let's go. This is from NBC Boston. Somerville cyclists oppose bike lanes being stopped for going through, oppose bikes being stopped for going through red lights. Interesting. Let's zoom in on this. In Somerville, Massachusetts, police have ramped up enforcement on people riding their bikes through red lights. Some cyclists and city leaders say they should, be focusing resources elsewhere. City Councilor Ben Ewan Campen said he started looking into the issue when he started hearing from people who had been given warnings by the police department. Quote, what we're talking about here is a cyclist coming to a red light and stops and sees that there are no pedestrians, that there's no traffic on or the right of way, and then proceeds through. That's the behavior that we're talking about, said Edwin Campen. He sponsored a resolution calling on the police department to deprioritizing this type of enforcement. Quote, this is not a wise use of our resources, and we should be using our enforcement resources on traffic violations that are actually incredibly dangerous and pose a real safety risk, said Edwin Campen. He pointed to a fact sheet published by the United States Department of Transportation's National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in March of 2022, which explained that many states have enacted bicyclist stop as zero laws to enhance safety and protect cyclists. Idaho first legalized the so-called Idaho stop in 1982, which allows cyclists to treat stop signs as yield signs and red lights as stop signs when there no pedestrians are present, and observe a 14.5% decrease in cyclist injuries from crashes the following year. Somerville resident Jeff Burns wrote a letter signed by 17 other residents in support of the resolution. He argues allowing cyclists to get ahead of vehicles by continuing through a red light when it's safe to do so can provide some distance from traffic. Quote, the biggest thing is that it takes cyclists and drivers out of conflict when a driver might be making a right-hand turn, like a cyclist is proceeding straight or making a turn themselves. It's called the right hook. It's the most dangerous interaction that a cyclist and a driver have. Because the driver has very low visibility for the cyclist, even if they are right next to you, Burns said. It reduces those interactions considerably because the cyclist can go ahead in most cases. The Somerville Police Department did not respond to requests for comment on this issue Thursday. Quote, all enforcement is educational. We're not looking to punish anyone or hurt anybody. It's mainly getting out there, our mission zero, said Donovan. As we all know, this city is becoming more congested, and I think with the increase of cyclists, we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page, and we want to make sure our cyclists are safe. Here's the deal, man. When I ride, right, one of the biggest issues that I have is creep, right? Cars that have like start-stop functionality, people not paying attention, cars tend to creep. And so if you don't get to the front of the pack, what's going to happen here is one of these drivers are going to hit you from behind, or they're going to sideswipe you because they're not paying attention. And so the ability to get a front and create that distance, like the guy is saying in the article, gives you all of the safety that you actually need when you try to, get from point A to point B. I was always socialized. I have my motorcycle license just as a reference. It was always socialized to me that when riding a motorcycle, you want to lane split. You want to try to get to the front of the pack because you don't want to be in between passenger cars or trucks or anything like that, especially if emergency vehicles are coming behind you and you can't get out the way because you have to kind of crab walk your way through because you can't accelerate. That's kind of the whole purpose of moving to the front of the pack and kind of getting ahead of the other cars in front of you. If you're a cyclist, not if you're a motorcyclist. If you're a cyclist, you want to try to distance yourself away from all of those vehicles because a lot of the times they're not paying attention because they're on their phone, picking their nose, doing whatever it is that they're doing, and they creep and they hit you from behind.
Well, Mike, technically speaking, it's kind of like an unwritten rule. If you look in your rear view mirror and you see a motorcycle splitting lanes, you're supposed to kind of move over to the right or to the left, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what cars are supposed to do. Just move over slightly. They can split the lane. Because what it actually does is it reduces congestion if you just let them go. So like if you're in those kind of congested areas, and you'll notice when you do that, they'll throw like the peace sign down.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like you know what I'm saying? Like that's the sign. Like, all right, Raz, that's what's up, man. So it's kind of like a road rule, man. Actually, that you do that you do that.
Yeah, an unwritten rule. Yeah, it just provides more safety in my experience. Too often people are just not paying attention. I can't tell you how many times like a turn on left will turn green for them, but the rest of the go forward stop lights is actually red. And what happens here is the person not paying attention thinks that the light is green for them, and then they run right into the back of you because they're just not paying attention.
Yeah, the peripheral caught the green light to turn right or whatever. Your peripheral caught that, so they just look up and just hit the gas and like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then hit the brake. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these are the sort of things that you got to be mindful of when it comes to being a cyclist or being an e-scooterist. I guess that's what you would call it. A micromobilityist. I guess we got to come up with a new term for that.
I know, a new term, right? Right. Yeah. We got to come up with a micromobilist.
Yeah.
Micromobilist.
Yeah, because even like on an e-scooter, right? You're standing up. You're not kind of sitting down on a saddle. The thing here is you have less acceleration. Your ability to accelerate from the red light is going to be significantly less than the driver. And so you want to kind of take advantage of the ability that all four lights at a four-way intersection is actually stopped. Once it's stopped and it's clear to go, I think cyclists, e-scooterists, whatever you want to call them, should have the priority to take off and go. Now,
I do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they do it.
What's going on?
I am glad they do it. Yeah, what's going on, man? Like I can't tell you, man. Whenever I see a motorcyclist going up in between the actual people or exiting on, I like that shit. I don't want them dudes kind of hanging in the back because they can get easily rear-ended by somebody. You don't know how many times I've been witnesses to court cases where somebody just, not even like, it's almost like the guy not even there. They just crushed that motorcycle at a dead stop. I'm talking about like pickup truck dudes do that shit all the time. Believe it or not, it's mostly pickup trucks that hit motorcycles.
And the rule of thumb, rule of thumb here for you, MOT, as a truck driver is, if I can't see your mirrors, you can't see me behind you. Unless you have a digital camera, on your trailer. But the rule of thumb here is, I can't be too close behind you as a cyclist or a motorcyclist for that matter, because you can't see me because I can't see your mirrors. So the best thing for me to do is to get to the front of the line so that I'm not, sandwiched in between. But, Somerville police don't actually believe in that. They're like stopping people for going through a red light. But keep in mind that Somerville is the next city over from Boston. And so they don't have a whole lot to do over there. It's actually pretty boring over there to live, especially if you're a police officer. There's no action going on over there. And so stopping.
It looks like there is now.
Yeah. Getting into high-speed pursuits with, people on e-scooters and stuff like that and stopping them. It's like, come on, you got better things to do out there.
No, but that's what the legislature's for. People can put stuff on the actual ballot to stop things like that from happening. That's how you alter the Constitution, so that way statewide they can't do anything like that. That's how we got rid of most private camera stop thing.
Oh, it
was a fraud. Yeah, from private companies that wasn't controlled by the state. When private people were running it, you had like people on bikes and they was like, 170 miles an hour. Like, what are you talking about, man? It's Cherry Creek, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just better off if you have it regulated. Because if you allow the police, who have a very bad mandate and trying to lock up everybody in sight, the priority should be on public safety, not trying to make your actual job count by writing a whole bunch of useless ass tickets, which is what happens in these smaller communities, which I think is unconstitutional.
Yeah. All right. Next item on the docket is from Fast Company. E-bike companies are fighting to be exempt from right to repair laws. The e-bike industry claims it's a matter of safety, but many argue that it undercuts the environmental potential for electric bikes. I'm going to read this whole thing. Let me just go through the first couple paragraphs. E-bikes have been in the news recently for a reason nobody wants. Their batteries are sparking dangerous fires. One conflagration burned down homes and businesses in the Bronx in New York City in March. And another blaze at an e-bike store in Manhattan killed 4 people in June. Those fires are bringing additional scrutiny and regulation to a mode of transportation that's been hailed as a promising climate solution, but they are also having unexpected impact on conversations about the right to repair a bicycle, something generations of bicycle owners have taken for granted. In recent months, People for Bikes, the national trade organization representing bicycle manufacturers, has reached out to lawmakers and officials in several states to request that e-bikes be exempt from right to repair bills. Those bills aim to make it easier for members of the public to access the parts, tools, and information they need to fix their stuff. The industry claims it's a matter of safety and that people without proper training should not attempt to repair e-bikes, especially not the batteries. Instead, manufacturers want to see dead and broken batteries recycled, which is why they recently launched a public education campaign encouraging consumers to do so. Recycling is a crucial step for dealing with battery waste sustainably. It keeps batteries out of landfills, and it can reduce the need for additional mining of critical battery metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. But for the e-bike industry to be sustainable over the long term, e-bikes also need to be repairable, since repair prevents waste and conserves the resources that go into making new stuff. The right to repair advocates the claim that it's unsafe for consumers to fix them is familiar. Consumer tech companies like Apple have said the same thing about repairing smartphones for years.
Yeah.
When it comes to e-bikes, advocates worry that safe battery handling is being used to distract from another problem they say right to repair would help solve. Cheap, hard to repair e-bikes are flooding into cities around the country. These are the same bikes that sometimes have substandard batteries that experts suspect are at the root of the fire crisis. Quote, I too want to go to safe repairers, Nathan Proctor, who heads the National Right to Repair campaign at the U.S. Public Research Interest Group, told Grist in the email. Quote, but I don't think monopolizing access helps at all. E-bikes are soaring in popularity, and for good reason. These battery-powered bicycles allow people to travel farther and faster than they can using an analog bike. They cost less than cars to buy and to own, take up far less space, and can be parked for free. Compared with gas-powered cars, e-bikes are incredibly climate-friendly. A recent analysis by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory found that the typical e-bike rider emits 0 to 3 grams of carbon dioxide per mile pedaled, compared with 350 grams per mile driven in a crossover SUV. E-bikes also have sustainability and safety advantages over EVs, including smaller batteries that require less lithium mining and pose less of a danger to pedestrians. But while e-bikes are clearly a sustainable choice for compared with driving, many e-bike advocates want to see the industry become a model of affordable, accessible, and environmentally friendly transit. For that to happen, consumers need to be able to repair their e-bikes to ensure they last a long time. In addition to a bicycle frame, wheels, and a battery, e-bikes include various electronic displays and sensors, as well as a motor that powers the pedal assist system. All of these components can break down and require repairs or replacement. Now, Complex, you have been working on micromobility solutions for quite some time. What's your take on the right to repair laws?
Oh, man.
Your mic is breaking up, Complex. Is it me or did he just drop out?
Yeah, he just dropped out, I think. Oh, okay, he's back now.
Am I here? Okay. All right. Good. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So there's two sides to it, right? So there's the right to repair side. So there's guys like me who know how to fix all this stuff, right? Now, what I don't do is fix batteries. And for the reasons that were mentioned in that article, because truth be told, if you guys order batteries from overseas, right, it's basically a you get what you pay for type of situation. All right. So there's grade A batteries, grade B batteries, grade C batteries. Okay. Now, the cheaper your e-bikes and your e-scooters, the cheaper the e-bikes and the e-scooters, that means the cheaper the battery is in the e-bike and the e-scooter. Essentially, because the motor, the controllers, everything else largely is going to be of the same quality, unless it's Bafang. Mike, you know, if it's Bafang, then that you've got essentially like the higher quality of the Asia e-bike components, right? However, if you don't have like Samsung, you don't have like Tesla cells, or you have like LG cells or something like that in your battery, you need to make sure that it might be an off-brand Chinese brand, but it has to have good chemistry. It's that thing. And because they crank out so many e-bikes and there's so many new models, all this type of stuff, what they want is people repairing them. They'd rather you just buy a new one, the Apple model.
Complex, your mic is breaking up a whole lot.
I know that. Oh shoot. Okay, what about now, man? Is it okay?
No, you're still breaking up.
Actually, Freightliner was trying to move to that actual model with their actual e-truck that I thought was a horrific idea.
Mhm.
Having a special person come out and replacing basic things, I don't think it's a good idea at all.
Well,
I mean, I do get the, you might as well buy a newer model, but no one goes into this like like okay, John Deere is a perfect example why you don't want that thing to happen. They can just turn your tractor off from space, and you have to wait for a special person to come out and fix basic parts on it. It's like,
well,
nah, man, you don't want these dudes to be doing that.
well
Hey, can you guys hear me okay now?
I can hear you okay now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I can understand the safety factor, right? Things happen, whether it's, grade A, grade B, or grade C type batteries involved in this. I think what's concerning for me is a 1,000-watt motor with a 48-volt battery, 52-volt battery. I think now you're starting to see 72-volt batteries. That stuff, things can get really crazy if you get some joker trying to, rig up something that they shouldn't be doing. Here's the balance to this that I think that could be we can find some common ground on. I think if the bike is under warranty, I think that should fall under whoever the dealership is licensed to sell it. I mean, you would never try to fix your own Samsung TV after you bought it from Best Buy. I think you would take it back to Best Buy and let them deal with it as is, unless it's completely out of warranty and they want to charge you $1,000, and you say screw them and go buy another TV. I think that same rule should apply when it comes to e-bikes and e-scooters and stuff like that, primarily because they are the the dealership, whoever, the bike shop that you're buying it from, are the licensed reseller, are the people who know it best, and should be going back through them while it's under warranty. I think if you take it out of warranty, then you have a different conversation. Then you can, potentially start, fiddling around with it in terms of doing your own repairs on it. I can't see why, anybody would want to work on a bike or an e-scooter that's already in warranty. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why not just take it back to where you got it from?
Hey, Mike. Okay, so just let me know if I'm not coming in. Okay.
No,
so
you can.
let's piggyback on that, dude. Because see, this is actually what we're actually doing is we're kind of troubleshooting what's going on with this burgeoning market. Okay, these are sort of like growing pains, right? Now, what Anti-Grav and I have always done with our operations and with any brands that we deal with, I always negotiate to make sure that I'm a service center for them. Okay, so that's the other thing. I make sure that I'm a service center for them so that I'm authorized to fix it. I have them give me authorization to fix it. Okay, a lot of shops and stuff, they really don't know kind of like the ins and outs of really kind of like securing brands from overseas. And then, because what you do is you want them to, you say, look, I'll take responsibility of all the business, right? So essentially that's just sales, marketing, or what have you. They may have other dealers or what have you, but you're like, but look, I got a shop, I repair, right? Send me your schematics, send me this, send me that, right? And then what I'll have them do is send me a cache of parts, throttles, brakes, brake discs, calipers, you know what I mean? Stuff like, stuff that wearables that break on an e-bike easily or somewhat easily. You know what I mean? So there's that side to it. I think there's another side to it where if you are basically taking on, it's no different than like if you opened up a Ford dealership and then you have like your service center at the Ford dealer, right? So Ford's going to give you parts, give you everything, and have you do warranty work, have you do service for the customer, buy the car from. So that part of the infrastructure really does need to be built out, or let's just say more, be developed more. But that battery thing, that's the main issue. It's the battery. because they're volatile, and there's a lot of like articles and stuff on this about e-bikes just explode batteries.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's get to the next item on the docket. This is from NYC Street Blog. The moped crisis and analysis. The city needs a systemic fix, justice for workers, and accountability by tech giants. Mayhem, and more accurately, the perception of mayhem on the streets of the city is provoking a new backlash against delivery workers. But are poor workers really the ones to blame? It's not the modes, it's the roads. Mayhem, and more accurately, sorry, let me skip past that. As a result, new groups, old polls, and advocacy groups are taking wildly desperate positions, most of which ignore the deeper systemic problems that are fueling the Wild West feel of our city's roadways. Meanwhile, delivery workers are injured and killed in stunning numbers. Between 2020 and 2022, 26 workers were killed on the job, according to the Workers' Justice Project and Los Deliveradores Unidos. Streets Blog spoke to advocates and elected officials about what's going on and how to fix it for this lengthy and in-depth analysis. I'm not going to read this whole thing, just going to give you about a couple of paragraphs. Delivery workers have long been exploited and harassed across the 5 boroughs. But when the state legislature legalized electric bikes in 2020, Libertars were finally able to do their job without fear of cops seizing their vehicles, which they buy themselves because the billion-dollar tech companies treat them as independent contractors, not employees. But the expansion of legal e-bikes sparked a new problem, a spate of fires caused by lithium-ion batteries, especially cheaper or refurbished models preferred by underpaid delivery workers. Landlords are banning the devices. The city has been shutting down and fining businesses for improper e-bike charging. And residents in many neighborhoods, even those with huge numbers of deliveries every day, are blocking efforts to create safe charging stations. Lacking an alternative, many delivery workers are shifting to loud and fast gas-powered mopeds, the vast majority of which are illegal because they are not registered. Those mopeds are scary to some, but they are demonstratively less destructive than the most dominant modes of transportation on the roads today, cars and trucks, which remain the biggest danger to pedestrians, cyclists, and indeed other drivers. Between January 1st and August 18th, 132 people have been killed in crashes involving cars, trucks, buses, and SUVs, including 54 pedestrians and 14 cyclists, according to the city stats compiled by CrashMapper. The same database showed that just one pedestrian has been killed this year by a motorcycle rider. None has been killed by users of other forms of micromobility, the statistics show. Yet, the perception exists. The damn mopeds are to blame for everything that is, and more accurately is not, happening on the streets. And that perception misses the point, advocates say. Quote, "What we're experiencing is an infrastructure deficit that is rearing its head," said Shabazz Stewart, the founder and CEO of Oni, a secure bike parking company, which also wants to build out safe e-bike charging infrastructure.
You said Shabazz Stewart?
Yeah, I've heard of him before. We might have covered him before.
Yeah,
I've heard of that name.
Brother. Yeah.
We'll look it up after this. Melinda Hansen, whose company Brightside is part of the Equitable Commute Project, said the failure to address real dangers is giving the micromobility sector a really bad name. There are not well thought out policies, and people are frustrated for very genuine reasons about their own safety. In a world that is desperately trying to reduce carbon emissions and congestion, mopeds can be sustainable traffic reducing way of getting around. But there's a problem. So many mopeds are on the street right now without license plates, as is required under state law. Why is this allowed? Well, for one thing, it's not. The NYPD told Street Blogs that it has seized 7,379 mopeds in the first 8 months of this year, more than double the 3,608 in the same period last year. The NYPD would not have seized illegal mopeds if they weren't being sold in the first place. But therein lies a systemic disconnect across agency failure. The Department of Motor Vehicles requires that all motorized vehicles, including mopeds, cars, and trucks, be registered before they can legally be driven on public roadways. But the agency said the buyer is responsible for registering the vehicle and getting a license plate for it. Licensed car and moped dealers are not required to register vehicles when they make a sale, according to the DMV spokesperson, though some do so as a courtesy. The DMV can impose civil penalties against unregistered dealers. A vast portion of moped dealers are in fact unregistered because their merchandise itself is illegal. And the agency works with law enforcement to conduct investigations against unregistered dealers of both cars and mopeds, according to the spokesperson. But that enforcement is paltry. Many shops sell illegal mopeds, gas or electric powered models without the necessary 17-character vehicle identification number, VINs, and fool unsuspecting buyers that the device is legal. Other moped shops sell mopeds with proper VINs, but knowingly and unknowingly sell them to people without driver's licenses who never register them. Anyways, this is about a 10-minute read. I'm not going to go through this whole entire thing. Because the way how I see it here is this. If you're a registered dealer of said brand of moped, all your inventory has to be then transferred, well, I shouldn't say transferred, but your asset inventory before sale or at sale has to be also tied in with the Registry of Motor Vehicles or the Department of Motor Vehicles before you can make that sale or at that sale. That's the way it should be, because you can't drive a car off the dealer's lot until you actually register the thing. It's that simple.
Well,
but
the dealership,
I mean, they give you like a 45-day tag.
I was going to say, Mike, the dealership gives you, so what it is that they have the ability to issue like a 30, or was it MOT, was it 45 or 30?
45 for Colorado.
Okay, I know in California, I think it's 30. That tag is good for 30 days. You can get that from the dealership. But dude, I wanted to speak to this in depth because when I used to have the Pacific Ride shop in Chatsworth, back in the day when we first started the Brain Trust and stuff, right? Dude, I was selling the type of scooters, like the gas scooters and all this type of stuff, pit bikes, quads, all that kind of stuff, that technically they do have to be registered. Now, here's the thing, Mike, here's the thing. Each one of those vehicles are supposed to come with a title, okay? Now, every company that sends stuff over from China does not have the stuff titled. They don't. That's where those dudes was running into trouble, because you didn't have a title to register it with. So what you have to do is you got to look on the chassis. You got to look onto the frame, and somewhere you're going to find that 17-digit or a 17-character serial number stamped. You have to basically get that number, and then you would have to register it for a blank title. Okay? Because we would get like tax breaks and stuff like that for registering the vehicles in the shop. And then we give the customer the other side of the title, and we say, okay, listen, it is now on you to go and file that. And then what they would do is give them like this little sticker, just put the little DMV sticker on the vehicle, and then they're good. But that's what they're running into. Like, whoever they're buying the stuff from, they're not walking them through the full purchase process. And whoever they're getting their stuff from isn't shipping those vehicles over with titles.
And I would want to know, how are they importing these scooters? Like, they don't make them. So where are they getting them from, and how are they coming through customs?
Especially without a title?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Because you know what? Okay, let's do this. Here's how they do that. Bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what they'll do is, like, it's, first of all this stuff comes over on a container. all this stuff's coming over on a container, right? Dude, if it's not like a certain classification of vehicle or something, they're going to just look on the bill of lading. They're going to open up the container. They're going to look inside. I'm talking about customs to inspect everything. And they're going to let that shit slide. And they'll say, well, let the dealer, let the whoever deal with it. It's their shit. If it's the wrong stuff, if it's stuff that's not sellable, let them deal with it. They just want to verify that if the bill of lading says for this container, there's 120 boxes of these scooters in that container. They want to crack it open. They want to see 120 boxes of those scooters in that container. That's it. They're not gonna check it to verify whether the stuff is actually registerable, whether they came with titles. They ain't gonna check that stuff.
No. What I'm saying here is, in order for these things to be sold, the legal terms has to specify what the speed is and what the make and model is, and so on and so forth. Once that dealer receives it, that dealer is not responsible for the distribution of that moped. What I'm saying here is, at some point, U.S. Customs said that this is okay for them to take on. But where it needs to stop at is at Customs to say, we're not accepting any of these devices or any of these vehicles unless they have the specified VIN numbers, like the blog is saying, that the 17 VIN number that needs to be on there. It has to be on the bill of lading, that all of these have passed this certification that.
But Mike,
that they have this VIN number.
They're stamped with it. This is how they get aware. This is how they get around it, dude. Well, we're on Zoom. I was gonna say we're on stream. I can show you, bro. Even my rideshare Razor scooters have a VIN. I had to, dude. I had the police had to get every. Yeah, well, I mean, basically it's a VIN because it's 17 digits. It's a vehicle, and the police needed to track all this stuff through API, which we had to set all this shit up, right? So all this stuff has they all have a quote unquote VIN on them. I'm just saying, some of those factories, they put more effort into their product than others, right? Some of them, they do the bare minimum. It's a 150cc motor. It's got a 17-digit VIN on it. It uses a Walboro carburetor or a McCuney, right? See, so it passes smog for the CC size on the motor. That's it. Okay, like I'm saying, like if I was a dealer and I got one of those scooters and it didn't have no title or nothing in it, and let's say you came into my shop and you're like, yo, I want to buy that. And I'm gonna be like, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the DMV and I'm gonna download a blank title form. And I gotta manually write that shit out for you. That's how you legally get the title for one of those scooters.
Okay.
Yep.
I know in Colorado, like a blank title form, it's a long drawn out process.
It is.
A while, but
it is. It's a pain in the ass. I've had to do it a few times for vehicles, man. It's a pain in the ass. I got to go down to the DMV, stand in line, right? Go here, do this. Then they have some person come out and inspect the vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. Then they have to do a vehicle inspection. It's a pain in the ass. But you can get a title for it.
Yeah, let me just share my screen real quick, because I think that actually, give me a second. Just so that people understand what we're talking about here, because I know this, we're throwing around a lot of jargon, and people may not understand what we're saying. This is from the state of Massachusetts, register a limited use vehicle. So limited use. Zoom in on this. If your car meets the requirements of a limited use vehicle, you can register it with the RMV. A limited use vehicle is any motor vehicle that meets all of the following requirements: has 2 or more wheels, has a certificate of origin, has a 17-character VIN, has been certified by the manufacturer to meet Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, FMVSS, for the particular class of vehicle, passenger, motorcycle, truck, etc., and whose speed on paved level surface can exceed 30 miles per hour, but is not capable of exceeding 40 miles per hour. In most instances, the maximum speed of the vehicle will not be on the certificate of origin. It will be up to the dealer.
Mike,
it will be up to the dealer, insurance agent, and the customer to ensure the vehicle is properly registered. See, that's what I'm trying to get to. That how did it make it? How is the dealer able to uphold themselves as a dealer without actually having to do all of the necessary things?
Well, no, that's the thing, dude. Like we did it at the shop. We did it because what we didn't want was a lot. Okay, what did they say? They said the customer, insurance, and the dealer, right? Dude. My mentor Danny, man, shout outs to him, man. Like he broke down the skinny to me on all this stuff. You do it as a customary measure when you sell a vehicle like that, so that you are absolved of liability. Because once I give them the title and I say, okay, now look, I have this side of the title, the dealer side of the title. I just sat here and I filled it out along with the sales invoice right here. You just signed off on everything. I ran your credit card. Boom, sales done. Here, boom, I tear off that other part of the title and I give it to them along with their invoice, the receipts and everything. And I say, hey, take that to the DMV and I think it's like $35, $40 or something. Pay to get your little sticker and you're good to go. But see, since I have the paper, the other side of that title on my side where they signed it, I'm absolved of liability, bro. If they never register that thing, and let's just say they never register it and they get into an accident. See, they can't come to me, right? They can't come to me about anything.
Yeah.
But just even per what you just read, like I was telling you, it's on the dealer for these vehicles because there's small motors and shit. As long as they can run on 87 gas, have vacuum tubes, have like a Mikuni or a Walbro carburetor and shit, and a muffler that doesn't leak, and a VIN number, they're gonna let it pass.
If two or three, okay.
No, I was gonna say there was one thing earlier in that article that you mentioned about the e-bikes, and I was kind of in the middle of dropping my daughter off. So were they running into problems with like charging infrastructure, or there was something about batteries, or there was issues about the delivery? There was something that I was
they can't charge because they can't charge their e-bikes because of the lack of infrastructure. They have to go out and go get mopeds, gas-powered mopeds.
See, this is where I would suggest, we get real keen on sourcing e-bikes and stuff like that. Get ones that have swappable batteries. Swappable batteries. That's the answer to that. Swappable batteries. That was all.
Not necessarily, because you can't always bring it inside of a building. Your landlord also has put a ban on it. So there's no place for them to actually hold their e-bikes or their e-scooters anymore, because New York City landlords have been banning them, right? And so there's a challenge that there's no place for them to have proper charging infrastructure so that they can actually charge them outside and then bring them home, or park them in a safe area, which is what the brother, I think, Shabazz is trying to figure out, right? Yeah. Parking infrastructure for e-bike. There's a lack of infrastructure. There's like the article is saying, infrastructure deficit, right? All around. That's creating the necessity to go out and go get mopeds. That then those things are not legally on the road either. Then so you have this sort of confluence of just bad public policy from officials that don't really understand the market. They don't understand the industry, and they don't understand, the cyclists or the e-scooterists or the delivery drivers. They don't understand it. That's why that's why you need nonprofits to step in. That's why you need collective organization on the ground. That's why all this stuff is really important. We don't just talk about politics and all that stuff just for the fun of it or as a hobby. This is really important.
No, because it's wrapped into this shit.
Yeah, if you're trying to move forward, it's you can't move forward without it. And so that's why we have these sort of discussions.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just read this last piece. If 2 or 3-wheeled vehicle has a maximum speed greater than 30 miles per hour and has not been certified by its manufacturer as a motorcycle or a motor-driven cycle with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it cannot be registered as a moped or a limited use vehicle and cannot be legally operated on the roads of Massachusetts. So that's the stance that Massachusetts has. Don't put it on the road if it can't be registered.
It can't be registered, right?
Yep.
But if it's under 49 cc, you're good.
Not even 49 cc. If it's
Really?
as long as it doesn't, it can't exceed 40 miles an hour.
I mean, okay, so how would they do that one? Because what if it's okay? What if it's under 49 miles an hour? I mean 40 miles an hour. Is it just one of these things if they pop you on a radar gun or something?
No, it's limited use to. Bike lanes are classified as 25 miles an hour.
I think they're just.
No, I'm saying I'm saying like if you had a scooter, but if you got a scooter with a 49 cc motor, right? There are some that will go like 50, 60 miles an hour. And then there's some that'll do like 30, right? So
Right.
is it like, is there a gray area there with that? Because technically speaking, you should be able to pass with a 49 cc motor.
Not
now,
anymore.
How fast it goes? Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they call it a limited use vehicle, meaning that scooter's not going on the highway. You can forget
so everything
about that.
has to be registered. So basically everything has to. Okay.
Yeah, make it registered.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, this is from electrek.co. What China's electric bike charging stations can teach us all. This is a timely article. Electric car charging stations are becoming ubiquitous across many cities in the US, but with electric bikes vastly outnumbering electric cars, should we be considering charging stations for these more popular light EVs? In China,
Yes.
e-bike charging stations are already commonplace. Perhaps we can learn something from them. In fact, I didn't know just how common these charging stations were in China until recently. I was talking with William Gao, whose company develops and markets e-bike charging adapters for European and US electric car charging stations. Basically, it's a device that plugs into a car charging station and converts the J1772 or European Type 2 connected into a typical wall outlet for level 1 charging. That wall outlet can be used to plug in any standard home charger, such as for an electric bicycle, e-scooter, e-skateboard, or other device. It's a great solution for the Western world. But he mentioned that in China, where he lives, they tend to prefer just using an e-bike charging station, to which I respond, a what now? As it turns out, electric bike charging stations are common in China. William sent me some photos of an e-bike charging station near where he lives in Zhejiang province, as well as few others around town. I actually visited Zhejiang province in 2019, but I never saw stations like these. There are a few designs, but most are variations of a simple concept, a row of wall outlets connected to some type of payment portal. Riders generally carry their chargers with them so they can charge at a charging station near work or any other destination. Electric bicycles in China are frequently more of a moped or scooter style design, meaning they have more storage options on the bike that make it easier for them to carry the charger with them. I asked William if riders weren't worried about someone stealing their charger while they are charging. Quote, charger theft isn't really a problem, he responded. Quote, they just aren't worth much. It makes sense to me, especially considering a new e-bike charger on Amazon can be had for $20 or $35.
They're dirt cheap, bro. They're dirt cheap.
Considering they come from China anyway, and who knows what the markup is by US importers, the local price must be pretty darn low. William also shared with me some screenshots from the charging station app showing various charging options, which charging outlets are still available at any moment. The prices are based on charging time and charging power, but seem quite reasonable. For example, a 240-minute charge charges in the US are rated at around 150 to 250 watts. Higher power is available from the station, which would likely be used on heavier moped-style e-bikes than the type of e-bikes we generally see in the US or Europe. A 1.2 kilowatt charger would run for about 144 minutes for the same price. Users can also pay 2 or 3 renminbi, that's 28 cents or 42 cents, for which for basically cover an all-day charge. There are other types of e-bike charging stations in China that are actually have the chargers built into the machine and are better suited for those that don't carry their charger with them. Still, other designs have several AC power cords that directly plug into the charger, meaning riders can plug their chargers into that cord. Here's what concerns me here. Humans are fallible, and so are niggas. It's only a matter of time before one of these dudes, tries to put their, their snaggletooth into that charger, and they end up electrocuting themselves. and I'm telling you, a lawsuit will take place, and that whole entire charger station goes down.
Well, are you talking about like in terms of in China, or are you talking about if we did it here?
I'm saying if we did it here, because it's not uncommon that when
in China, this is normal. This shit is normal.
The culture is different, though. The culture is different. People don't just steal just for the sake of stealing, right?
They don't.
Here, it's not uncommon. I mean, you and I have seen many YouTube videos of bike thieves. When they come with these bolt cutters and they decide, well, let me cut this cable too, this charging cable too, and they get electrocuted for whatever reason. A lawsuit.
No. There's a specific reason why you get electrocuted.
Well, because they're in the middle of the dark, they don't know which cable they're cutting. They don't know if it's a steel cable versus an electric cable. That's what I'm saying. It's a variety of reasons why that might happen.
Yeah.
But in the event that they do cut one of these cables and get electrocuted, they could potentially sue us as small EV infrastructure,
because it's a hazard.
Yeah, it's a hazard. And so we have chargers at work, in our bike garage, and people charge all the time, but it's cut off from public access, right? And so people can't just walk in there. You got to have a badge in order to get into the bike garage in order to see everybody's stuff.
That's the way it is in Colorado. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah, to prevent people from, and it's all tapered off. You can't
bike theft.
Yeah, you can't see what's in there anyways, because it's all tapered off. And so what I'm saying here is, this sounds great in China. Bring that to the United States, and I'm telling you, it's only one accident away from one of these yo-yos putting their eggplant up in one of these outlets because they just wasn't, they're just careless like that.
Well, Mike, so let me, I put a link in the chat. Can you just pull that up real quick?
What chat?
It's a company in the back chat on
group chat.
The group chat. So it's a company that we actually did some beginning integrations for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's this right here, charging infrastructure, all app-based and all that stuff. So it's actually here in the States. See, the challenge is that we're, like you were just saying, we're not kind of where China is culturally with it. So it's really hard to roll this type of stuff out because the commute charging hubs are wireless, actually, the wireless charging. So the technology's here, the companies are here, the startups are here. I've worked with a few of them. It's just the market has to catch up to the technology. We're starting to see it happen now. It's starting to happen. The micromobility sector is picking up big time. So in the next year to year and a half to 2 years, you're going to start seeing more of this type of infrastructure being rolled out. But Mike, one other thing, dude, to mention, a while back, we covered, maybe it was Paul, Francis, but Kidget, I think he had also developed an adapter where you could plug, he had I think it was an adapter you could plug into an EV charging station, but charge an e-bike with it. Because what it did was it metered down the voltage to like 36 or like 48, depending on the battery. Yo, MOT, you there?
I'm here. Hold a second.
Okay. Damn it. I think Mike dropped it. Because it only shows there's two of us here. Okay. So I think Mike may have run into some issues. Let's see. Yeah, it's just only two of us.
Probably.
It's only two.
Yeah, probably.
He'll be back.
It's like in this certain, situation that there's gonna be a lot of development that's needed overall. Because we're already doing something like that in Colorado. Like most of the apartment complexes already have like the EV charging kind of thing, especially in like Boulder and stuff like that. So it's not really regulated, but there's not a lot of places to park in Boulder either. So it's kind of like, I mean, they really don't budget for parking there. I mean, parking is expensive as hell, especially if you have a large SUV. Like a car, it's kind of okay, but every jurisdiction is going to be different. Like I can't imagine this is a nightmare for like a New York or LA or San Francisco or even a Phoenix.
I mean, yeah, it honestly, it is different because even when I launched up over here in Kern Valley, right? We launched our operations like late last year. Like this market is way different from the Santa Monica, Venice, West Side market in LA. It's a world of a difference, right? Because this basically is country up here. Even though it's California and LA from here anyway, is about an hour and 20 minutes away, hour and 15 minutes away. The markets were completely different. And that's just here in California. So, really it's like the analysis has to be conducted on the ground. I don't know, maybe like for another live stream, we could talk about that, like creating heat maps. I've mentioned it on previous live streams, but we can go into detail about creating heat maps, right? You see, so heat maps are essentially where, if you're building out a micromobility network, right? I mean, so essentially what you're trying to do is create a mesh network with vehicles, so, right? That's essentially what you're trying to do. So there's going to be certain places where you're going to test out first, and then you're going to like look at the data. You're going to look at the ride data. You're going to see if scooters just got rented and taken somewhere, and then you want to look at where they went, which direction, and how long, right? And then when you see where they go, how far they go out, you use those points where they went out, and then you drop a couple more right there, and that's how you start to build out your kind of like your vehicle mesh.
Yeah, I mean, because I've seen a model like that. Like every other weekend, I deliver mail in Louisville, Kentucky, and St. Louis, all the way to KC. And I've seen more and more of these like e-bikes closer and closer into the hood, like on the sidewalk. Like I'm talking about dead center in the hood. Like I think it's free over there for the most part because the west end of Louisville, who the fuck want to live over in the first place, first 48 bill. But I've been seeing them things like more and more readily. Like every time I drive through there or drive around town when I am there, I am starting to see them more and more.
Bro, e-bikes are exploding, man. It's exploding. I just, I got a sale just yesterday. I got to process and get it shipped up here to get it to my customer. But it's like it's exploding, dude. It's funny, man. Like I had when we had rolled out the fleet up here. And then all the rains came and stuff. California got hit with all the rains for the first part of the year. And we had pulled everything off the streets because it was just like, dude, we're not trying to lose a whole bunch of shit to water damage and all kind of other stuff. And, we're not just trying to take losses like that. So a lot of people who were using them ended up just buying their own shit. Because I ended up fixing a couple of them, little simple repairs. But yeah, the move now is everybody's just buying their own stuff. Everybody wants their own PEV now. Yep. So
I'm thinking about getting one for my truck because what is it? TA sells them now. I think one for like $400. I can see you a picture of it. You can tell me how much
Yeah, you just put the bike in the truck, and then when you park, get on the bike and take off, man.
Because I have like trailer boxes that where I have to I can easily put a scooter in there because I have like tools and tarps and all that type of stuff. I have to tarp loads of them. So
especially if it's a scooter, it's foldable.
Yes,
you gotta say scooters are foldable, so that'll definitely be easy.
Yeah. Let me get to this next item on the docket. This is from Reuters. Uber rolls out electric bike fleet in Kenya. It's first in Africa. Ride-hailing firm Uber on Thursday launched an electric motorbike service in Kenya. It's first in Africa as the company seeks to make its global platform emissions-free by 2040. The rollout in Kenya will be followed by a, quote, potential announcement this year for the rest of its markets in the region, said Pegaso, Uber's general manager for sub-Saharan Africa. Uber's other markets in sub-Saharan Africa are Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, and South Africa. Uber's new green product in Kenya, dubbed Electric Boater, in a nod to the Swahili term for motorbike taxis, will comprise 3,000 bikes within 6 months, or just under a fifth of its fleet. Drivers will see a 30 to 35% drop in their operating costs, and users of the platform will pay 15 to 20% less than they do for a regular Uber motorbike trip, the company said. You will experience lower vibrations, less sound, he said.
The fourth industrialization of Africa.
Fifth industrialization now. In Kenya, which generates more than 90% of its power from renewable sources and has been positioned itself as a hub to lead Africa's shift to the green transport, Uber previously carried out small pilots for electric bikes with external partners. The growth of the electric vehicles market in Africa has been slowed by a lack of adequate electric charging infrastructure and associated equipment. Sensing an opportunity, local firms have been setting up battery swapping stations in major cities like Nairobi to save drivers time. Kenya's President William Ruto said last month that he wanted to see the number of electric motorbikes on the road increase from the current 2,000 to more than 200,000 by the end of 2024.
And Mike, this is what I was telling you, bro. He even said it, swapping. That I'm telling you, do battery swapping is the solution, and they're going to jump right on it.
Yep. Motorbike transport is a big employer in Kenya and is over millions of people who are unable to secure formal jobs. So, and this is the brother right here who runs Uber in sub-Saharan Africa. And so we've been talking about this. The market is pretty big right now, and it's only going to explode. You can't really the numbers don't lie at this point. The numbers are not lying. So Africa is a huge market, 1.3 billion people right now.
And then those electric bikes are just way more reliable.
Yeah.
Than what they currently use, like the Indian produced gas bikes.
Yep.
Those things they constantly break down. These things right here, they eat the roads. They have all the torque, all the power. Batteries are swappable. It's just a better device.
Where am I at right now? Okay. All right, let me get to the next item on the docket. All right, let me know you can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good.
Bikeportland.org. Portland will be testing ground for new bike lane sweeper trailer.
So
Keep in
they're
mind,
gonna try to replace those huge bulky trucks.
well, the truck is the street sweeper is too wide for the lane to begin with. Remember, bike lanes are only 3 feet wide.
Right. Oh, okay, got it. Just for bike.
Yep. Keeping bike lanes clean is a problem that the city of Portland is yet to resolve or solve. As a budget problems worsen at the Transportation Bureau, a significant improvement to this perennial problem looks further away than ever. But don't despair, there's a do-it-yourself solution. Do you recall back in January 2022, we profiled a California-based inventor who was working on a bike lane sweeper trailer? His name is Pierre Lamont, and he's coming to Portland this week to show off his latest prototype. You can meet Pierre and see his creation outside of the Made Bike Show in South Waterfront this Friday through Sunday. So let's actually play this real quick.
Do you ever ride in dirty bike lanes or on roadsides full of debris, dirt, glass, nails, and leaves? Wouldn't it be nice to have a convenient way to clean the pavement where we ride? I am pleased to introduce the first ever bike lane and roadside sweepers you can pull with your bicycle. You can now clean as you ride with a conventional bicycle or e-bike. Let's see them in action. This sweeper model picks up debris as you ride and collects it in a hopper. This is a great solution for protected bike lanes. The battery has enough capacity to clean many miles in a single session. When the hopper gets full, you can remove the bag holding the debris and dump it into a garbage bin. To clean long stretches of bike lanes, you'd leave bags on the side to be picked up at a later time. As an alternative, this sweeper brush moves at an angle so the debris gets pushed to the side. There is no need to ever stop to empty a hopper. To get started, you attach the sweeper to the rear wheel of your bicycle, the same way you'd tow a kid's trailer. It will fit any rear tire from 26 to 29 inches. You then connect the control wires and you're good to go. As you ride, you control when to turn the sweeper on and off with a simple switch attached to the frame. Only activate the brush when the pavement needs cleaning. I hope you like the bike lane sweepers and can contribute to this effort. Let's make them a familiar sight throughout America's bikeways.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Hey, you know, that's similar to, remember that the dude who did the snowplow? So he did something similar. It just went on the front of his bike. And what it did was it just shot the snow off to the side of the road.
Crazy.
And so what's cool about this one is that it sweeps up like just in you know, in a straight path, or you can angle it to just like also shoot stuff off to the side of the road.
You know, it takes a lot of ingenuity to put something like this together. I don't think people understand what goes into something like this. This is not something that's easy by any stretch of the imagination. This is not easy at all. I imagine this has to be automated at some point. I mean, it's one thing to attach it to a back of a bike, but you kind of want this to be automated, you know, on off-peak hours. And so, I think it's a great start.
Because you're looking at, look at that thing and then look at like a delivery bot, right? I mean, very similar profile. We're just talking about the internals to allow it to be automated, right? Through the IoT and shit. That's all we're talking about with this. So I could, go ahead, dude. But
no, I was just gonna say we have a mini street sweeper truck that it's like the size of a golf cart, and it does all of that stuff, but on its own. So that's how they clean the bike lanes here. It's specifically designed for bike lanes, but this is actually pretty ingenious.
Yeah, I could see that for regular street use too, depending on like the areas. Some streets are narrow, dude. You don't need a huge street sweeper. You could contract with something like this easily. Because you know what I also like? What I thought was really ingenious, it actually dumps it into a bag, dude. You just take the bag and like throw it in the trash or just sit it on the side and somebody just scoops it up. I was like, no, that is what's dope.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, here it is here. This is an excellent photo of it. This is pretty similar.
Okay.
This is pretty similar to what we have here. This is what they use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a small one. That looks like a quadricycle sweeper. Because look, it's in a bike lane right there. That big picture off to the right, that's a bike lane right there.
Yeah, that's what it's designed for.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it's designed for.
Dang, well, dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, when it comes to design efficiency, that dude, man, he built just like a little e-bike joint.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much what we have here. That's okay. It actually is made by Johnson Controls. And so what the problem that we have is that people are parking in the bike lanes. In order for you to go by, you got to go back right into the main road just to get around them. And so when these street sweepers come, they come with a tow truck. So if you're in there, you're going to get towed out. So
yeah,
that's the essential gist of it. So
yeah, for those of y'all who don't know, man, if you guys see a green lane off to the side of the road, that is a bike lane.
Yeah,
it's not a parking. No, it's not for parking.
All right, let me get to the next item on the docket. All right, let me know when you can see my screen.
We're good.
All right, this is from businesswire.com. A new era unfolds, micromobility's commitment to shareholders and vision for the future. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to read this. This is not germane to this topic. Skip past that. All right, let me know you can see my screen.
We are good.
Okay. All right, this is from Euronews.com. Urban mobility. Are electric scooters the answer to urban mobility problems? Oh, no.
Well, doesn't want to load?
A ban of electric scooters comes into effect on Friday in Paris. Following a vote back in April, locals complained that the nifty way to get around town is causing a nuisance. Urban mobility in Europe is a dynamic and developing sector, but finding alternatives to car travel in cities is proving divisive between the public and private sector.
That's what each city in Europe is looking for, replacing car trips by more sustainable modes. And that kind of data exchange and that kind of understanding based on facts is currently still under development.
Paris is not the first city to introduce a ban. Copenhagen originally banned e-scooters, but they are now allowed in the city centre under stricter conditions.
The best way to have better grip on the use of e-scooters is to introduce a kind of licensing scheme that allows for a sustainable procurement of these services. And there we have many examples from cities across Europe that introduced such a licensing scheme.
Data on the use of e-scooters is still uncharted, something urban planners want to make more transparent in order to improve safety and sustainability.
The important question we need to ask is, do e-scooters create a shift from individual car use to a more sustainable mode? Like, how many car trips have e-scooters replaced? We know that's the case for public transport, for bicycles. They really create a shift to more active, sustainable modes. For e-scooters, that picture is not clear yet.
A broader trend is that European cities are turning their attention to pedestrians.
Oh, yes, it is.
If you think about cyclists, car users, shared car users, public transport users, at some point we all walk. So it's the first mode. And that realization has finally arrived, and many cities have started to invest more.
So here's the deal. I think you have a lot of Luddites who can't stand the idea of e-scooters being that alternative to bikes, right? I had a conversation with Complex offline about this, but here I see a lot more Black women on scooters than I see brothers on them. And what I see is that I think what the attraction is to e-scooters is that you don't have to pedal and they're very quick to where you want to get to. We covered this some months ago, but the average distance for an e-scooter rider is usually between 1 to 3 miles, right? It's that last mile stretch that a person is trying to fill in that easy, 15-minute walk, right? So what would have taken you 15 to 30 minutes to walk is now taking you 2 to 3 minutes to get to on an e-scooter. And so it fills in that void of not having to walk and not having to pedal. And I think that becomes the attraction to some people, and specifically the demographic that I'm talking about has been Black women. They like the ease of getting on something and going and not having to pedal and not having to put any extra labor into it. For a lot of brothers, I don't really see them on scooters that much. I see them on dirt bikes and stuff like that. I think there's a component of masculinity versus femininity to this. I think that e-scooters tend to be a lot more forgiving from a learning standpoint, whereas dirt bikes, 125cc, 200cc dourt bike, that requires a lot more labor because you have to make sure that the gas is right and mix with the oil, and you're doing wheelies and stuff on it.
Yeah, clutching it. Yeah, you're clutching it and everything.
There's a lot more brain power that is required to ride that dirt bike than it is to ride that scooter. With most scooters, it's just a push button.
Well, but I'm gonna tell you like this, Mike. Go down on a scooter at about 25, 30 miles an hour, like I did about a year ago. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
It's the effect is the same as if you went down on a motorcycle at about 30 miles an hour. Okay, the effect is the same. However, I just think what we're talking about here is reduction of size, efficiency, ease of use,
perceived.
Access to. You said perceived?
Yeah, perception as well. Yeah, perception.
Oh, okay. Perception. No, absolutely. Right, absolutely. Because it's new, right? I just think the benefits far outweigh, any kind of perceived cons that people. I mean, look, even from like an aesthetic standpoint, right? Like we're always. I think because you're gonna bring up the Honda scooter here in a minute, because we're gonna talk about design aesthetics too, right? I mean, the shit is getting real sexy. There's a lot of different design cues and other things. So it's like, this is, not only is it new, but it's quickly evolving, right? This is a quickly evolving market also. And so, yeah, man, it's like, if you have the early adopter mindset, then you know you're gonna think to like start rocking with this type of stuff like right now, right? Whereas like, you know, what I find is, man, with a lot of brothers, man, after a few times they see me boning out on mine, then they're curious about it. But typically, yeah, cats want like dirt bikes and pit bikes and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get to the next item on the docket. This is from News 5 Cleveland. Cleveland startup bringing innovative transformable electric bikes to the market. Let's watch this.
Okay, so when you think of electric vehicles, right, most people think of trucks and cars, for example, but EV consumption isn't just automotive.
Yeah, for example, U.S. trade data shows electric bikes outselling electric cars in recent years. And while the EV industry is still finding its footing, I found out how Northeast Ohio stands to jump in early. There's something electrifying about seeing the city from the seat of a bike. But this isn't your granddad's bike. Do you get a lot of people asking you, like, when you're out riding it around, like, what is that?
That's something we had to get used to.
Scott Colosimo is the CEO of Land, a Cleveland startup that makes two-wheel electric vehicles and batteries.
But for what we designed the bikes to do, which is around town, in-city fun, short highway jaunts, this is the best thing that exists to do that.
Their headquarters, inside a historic industrial space on the west side, reflects the modern vintage spin they've put on the classic that rolls out of here.
And how are your e-bikes different from other e-bikes on the market?
Well, the first thing is we make one vehicle that can transform from a bicycle to a moped to a motorcycle through software. So there's no physical changes needed.
And they use swappable batteries that plug into standard outlets to charge.
So the space we're starting in is where we actually started all the prototypes.
In 2020, Scott and his team pivoted from making gas motorcycles to electric vehicles.
So this is our brand new factory right here in Gordon Square.
And just opened 14,000 square feet of newly renovated space.
To our left are finished bikes that are getting ready to go to customers. And we've had a good issue, which you always want as a business, which is more demand than you have the ability to meet.
While the EV market is still emerging, it's expected to be a game changer worldwide. Over the next 6 years, U.S.-produced EVs are projected to almost triple, and Northeast Ohio is poised to capitalize on that opportunity by building off its automotive infrastructure and manufacturing might.
What that's led to is a really, really heavily embedded supply chain.
Jacob Doritsky, with the region's economic development partner, Team NEO, says 17 of the top 20 suppliers to the EV process are concentrated in Northeast Ohio.
It's having those conversations with established companies. You know, what else can you be doing that could support a new and emerging industry here? These are the jobs that for the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to be prevalent here. How do we take advantage of those?
I say we leaned into what Northeast Ohio is really good at.
With his daughter in hand, Scott tells me Land is about the future and the next generation of power.
The bigger vision is around this energy freedom.
Freedom to create and contribute to the EV ecosystem, which has the potential to drive innovation and economic growth for years to come.
We found our niche. It's a fairly large niche, it's a growing niche, and we're squarely staying within that.
Katie Usin, News 5.
It's pretty cool stuff there. And if you are looking at making the switch because of the environmental impact, Bloomberg reports one study found choosing an e-bike for just 15% of the miles you drive reduces your transportation emissions by
Dude, see, that kind of shit makes me miss my shop, man.
But
that's when I had the space to like fucking tinker, and you know, I still tinker around, but man, like having like lifts and you know, all just the equipment and shit in there, man. Because look what, like, dude, he just pivoted. They were making gas bikes, bro. That's like a bigger Super 73 right there. For those of y'all that don't know, Super 73s are like these electric bikes that kind of are like modeled after kind of like the old sort of like taco style mini bike chassis. But that's like a bigger version. That's like a what do they call those? I think
Scrambler.
A scrambler. There you go. That's what it is. A scrambler.
Now, when we talk about it, you know, we get less views. When they talk about it, shit gets done. Okay? That's the difference. Look at all the people that are involved in making that work. 17 of the 20 suppliers are focused right in Ohio. Right?
So
and
what is the
money,
future? What does the future for Ohio look like when it comes to this sector right here?
They're going to be a dominant player in Ohio.
Man.
Everybody's eating off of this. Try having that conversation with Black folks. They won't even show up.
I mean, look at those buildings that they built that shop in. Bro, we talked about this, bro. There's buildings like that all over Black areas, man, all over. Why aren't they being retrofitted into shops like that, dude? Like, come on.
But look at all the financial muscle that's behind it. They have a whole entire conglomerate of people who are behind this. And so he's not coming out of his pocket and just doing this on his own. There's a lot of people that are involved in this. And so that's why we're having this conversation. That's why we do these streams, so that you understand that what you just saw was tangible outcomes to a market that we have been waxing lyrical about for the last couple of years.
Since this channel started. And, you know, the guy even said, he said, you know, he has a good problem in that they have more demand than their supply.
Yeah.
Right. That's always a good problem to have in business. Number one. So the takeaway from that is the viability in the market in what we're talking about. You guys really think we're bullshitting about this stuff. But I mean, when you look at the sales numbers and stuff, I've had more inquiries. I just had just to sell yesterday, you know, and this is like a dude who wants to upgrade from a scooter that he got some time back. He's like, no, you know, I need something faster. I need something bigger. I got to travel further to go to work. He uses it as his vehicle. It is literally his car.
Yeah.
Okay. It is literally, this is his car. So he's like, look, I want a new one. I want to upgrade. Got you. So I'll have them ready to go by Tuesday. You know, but I mean, this is the business right here, man.
But people would sit here and say, "Oh, the brain trust, you guys are boring. You don't know what you're talking about," and yada yada yada. And it's like, hello, we just saw these guys just pivot, and you're telling us that, you know, reparations, we're waiting, you know, cut the check, we're waiting for that. Nah, bro, they out there getting it.
Yeah.
Listen,
we've done plenty of reparations live streams. So make no mistake, we are not anti that position. Matter of fact, we've caught shit because we're pro reparations. But see, that's neither here nor there. We're still not going to let that shit stop us from a burgeoning market like this. You heard the guy also, he said that it's a huge niche. Huge. You want to know why? Because there's not that many players in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go to the next item on the docket. This is from NYC Street Blog. Industry leaders slam DOT's proposed cargo bike rules. Leaders in the freight industry say that proposed city rules to regulate transport and freight by bike will not only destroy one sector of the business that is currently working well, but will also choke off some innovation for the foreseeable future.
Cool.
That's such an awesome picture.
I mean, there's like a cargo van, right? And there's like this cargo bike right there.
Right. And they just freely parked there, right? Let me read this caption real quick. So about that cargo bike revolution, leaders in the freight industry say that proposed city rules to regulate transporting freight by bike will not only destroy the one sector of the business that is currently working well, but will also choke off some innovation for the foreseeable future. After Street Blog broke the news that the city was promulgating new rules to hopefully spur innovation, industry leaders began widely and loudly condemning the proposal. The worst part, they say, is a clause in the rules that would cap all pedal assist cargo bikes and trailers at just 10 feet in length. A proposal that would prohibit all of Amazon and Whole Foods' successful and popular cargo bike delivery wagons. Quote, the 120-inch cap is going to eliminate all bike and trailer cargo solutions that currently operate in the market today and in the future, said Ben Morris of Coaster Cycles, one of the leading manufacturers of cargo bikes for the industry. Quote, it will eliminate all of the all the progress that has been made over the past few years. It would take us backwards. This rule, if put into effect, would eliminate the primary solution that operates in New York City today. Morris continued, many of the stakeholders were very surprised to see the rules written as such. It's never been discussed. Why put that in there? To better make
so just so I'm understanding, they are going to impose rules on the size of the cargo trailers?
Yeah. I think I can see the point. I can see the point. Well, no, I think the whole entire length of it, right? So from the bike front wheel to the end of the trailer itself.
So not the width, but the length.
Yeah, the width and the length, but the more importantly is the length, because you can always narrow it down, but you can't shorten it up.
Well, I mean, once you construct the frame, right, it is what it is. So if they all of a sudden impose some sort of rule that says, okay, well, the frames are this, I mean, you got companies that like then invested like tons of money into like the design of some shit and then went ahead and ran manufacturing only for them to be told they can't use it. Oh, dude.
Yeah. To better make his point, Morris sent over a picture of one of his company's cargo bikes, a model he called a reasonable solution and currently working in the marketplace that would nonetheless be barred because it is 178 inches from front wheel to the back of the trailer.
Okay, so now look, that's a double trailer because there's actually a box on the back and then there's a trailer behind it.
Well, that's kind of the whole purpose of a cargo bike, right? Just to have maximum storage.
I mean, what is that? Is that 178 inches right there? Or are they saying that's too long?
It's too long.
That right there?
Yeah.
I would say that's good. That's about as long as I would go though on a cargo bike.
It exceeds the 120.
But that's what I mean. That's why I'm kind of like, damn, well, you had companies that went ahead and developed and designed these types of trailers and hitch systems and all this stuff, right? And then it's like, okay, you can't use that shit anymore. Like, ugh.
Street Blog interviewed 6 other industry leaders and many had the same reaction, though none would go on the record. Amazon declined to comment publicly, but several of the manufacturers who built Amazon trailers said the company will strongly protest the rule change at a hearing next month. I knew it. The main thrust of the rules proposed by City Department of Transportation is to allow the use of 4-wheel pedal assist van-like cargo bikes, which some believe are illegal under state law because of the 4th wheel.
It's not. It's a quadricycle, dude.
Another state law clarifying the matter is stalled, prompting DOT to act, the agent said. But several freight operators said that DOT is acting to help the owner of a company that just happens to make a large 4-wheel cargo bike, the very same bike that the DOT is testing. Those bikes are made by Fernhay, which is owned by a well-connected lawyer, William Watchell. Unlike other freight operators, Watchell supports the rule change, and not only, he said, because it benefits his company. Motherfucker, you.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to know what this other reason is. Go ahead.
I believe that the landscape of the city of New York has to change in order to accommodate e-bikes, cargo bikes, and the like. And it's got to be done thoughtfully, he said, He told Street Blog. As much as people have wanted to increase sustainable transportation, there has to be more planning, and it isn't easy. This is uncharted waters. But now's the moment to step back and figure out how to do it right. It's hard to get a mulligan when it comes to things like this. Wacho's four-wheel bike, despite looking bulky, is 36 inches wide and just under 10 feet long. Existing cargo bikes and trailers in the industry are longer and, more important, wider, which can create conflict in bike lanes. The DOT rules would allow for bikes up to 48 inches wide, something that many industry leaders don't think is so great.
Mike, let me ask, just I'm starting to get the sneaking suspicion that maybe what this dude did was got something like this designed, shipped over, and because he's well connected, you know, rubbed some elbows and said, hey, listen, change the rules on this, see, so my shit by default qualifies and everybody else is going to have to recalibrate.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get the sneaking suspicion, man, that he might have pulled something like this. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely. No disagreement here. The Amazon Whole Foods the Amazon Whole Foods trailers are 14 to 16 feet long, so they would be barred under the new rules. And that's what industry leaders can't understand. 120 inches, that's 10 feet, said one industry leader who asked for anonymity because he works with the city. I don't know what's behind this. It's arbitrary and capricious. The biggest flaw in the rules is how it would destroy the successful Amazon Whole Foods operation, said another industry leader. I applaud the efforts of the DOT to increase the width of cargo e-bikes, trikes, and four-wheel modalities to 48 inches, but the suggested limit of 120 inches will force us to shut down completely, re-engineer our operations, or return to using vans for delivery, said.
What did I say?
Yeah. CEO of Net Zero Logistics and industry leader in the tri-state area in Boston. Between the bike, trike, hitch, and trailer, we need at least 16 feet to operate effectively, Churanstone said. The limit of 120 inches will decimate our productivity as well as the earnings of our employees will be reduced, our employees by reducing the amount of freight groceries with each route performed. While we agree our objective is to reduce our carbon footprint, the only way to gain the lost capacity with the 120-inch restriction is to return to a van operation. I am confident that that is something no one wants to see happen. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the thing here is this. This is where the fight happens, okay? This is where those who can innovate will, and those who cannot will tap out. You have to ask yourself, which side are you going to be on? And I think that I think there's room for both. I think when you look at these right here, or this picture here, something like this in Africa would be robust. Something like this in Africa would be highly robust.
Yeah.
There would be no laws to stop something like this in Africa, and so you would never lose business.
Nope.
They don't really believe in stymieing the progress of small businesses like that. Not like in the United States, like what you're seeing here, with a lot of bureaucratic red tape and lobbyists involved stymieing your growth. And so something to think about, because you know, this is an emerging market. Like the article is saying, no one really knows how to actually make this work because it's so new.
Well, and
like
that's why I kind of picked up on this whole thing here, and I'm like, so wait, is what this guy's doing? He's really trying to kind of set the rule book in such a way where it benefits him. Right, because his vehicle by default qualifies. Right. So even like with the Amazon and the Whole Foods peeps and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure he'll step up to him and be like, well, hey, why don't you just hand me a contract, bro, and then you guys just work it out, and then you guys get your fleet, right? But in the meantime, yeah, throw that business my way.
I don't think he would be successful only because of antitrust laws.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, and I don't think he has enough muscle to ultimately defeat Amazon and their own fleet objectives.
Right.
Because they put way more money into this than he has. I was just kind of like wow, that's just ironic. You just so happen to have a vehicle that fits, and everybody else is screwed.
Yeah.
Right. And it said it even in the article. He was like, dude, there's a lot of companies and stuff. This is gonna really screw them.
Yeah. Let me get to the next item on the docket. This is from CBS New York.
Replaced by pedal assist cargo bikes. These bikes have 4 wheels. They're wider than delivery bikes that are currently on our roads.
But as CBS 2's Dave Carlin reports, some are pushing back against the plan to roll them out.
New York City residents love their deliveries. 80% of New York households get at least 1 delivery per week, according to the Department of Transportation. If the DOT has its way, new wider pedal assist cargo bikes like this one will roll across the 5 boroughs. They're easier on the environment than trucks.
Anything energy efficient for the city would be fabulous.
The pedal assist cargo bikes are 10 feet long and 4 feet wide, sturdier than the current ones that are 3 feet wide and 3-wheeled. Some people worry these could make the roads even more crowded.
I think it's going to give more chaos. It's already congested.
City leaders say 2 of these bikes can replace 1 traditional delivery truck. And they add the number of trucks could be greatly reduced by having the new cargo bikes start at the rivers to line up and load up.
Down at Pier 92, which is by the river, there's a discussion of bringing cargo in there on the ships and then bringing the bikes from there.
City Council member Gail Brewer likes the plan, but only with fixes to infrastructure and much better traffic enforcement.
Enlarge the bike lanes. You have to make sure that the cargo bikes do not unload at the sidewalk. They have to unload in the street. And 3, the rules of the road have to be enforced.
The City Department of Transportation gets public input on the plan the morning of Wednesday, September 13th. The city's virtual hearing begins at 10 a.m. Comments are being taken via DOT email.
I think this is a good thing.
I think it's a bad idea.
Why?
Because we have enough problems right now with the bike lanes.
We found a divided public on the extra pedal power, with a final council vote that is still down the road. On the Upper West Side, Dave Carlin, CBS 2 News.
We thought the roads were interesting already.
I know.
Let's see what happens
Nothing
next.
comes easy these days, does it?
It's going to be interesting. Delivery trucks in the city.
What's your take on this complex?
So, Mike, the other part, dude, this is going to put the traditional cargo truck operators in jeopardy.
Why you say that?
2 of those, because they said 2 of those can place one of those box trucks.
So you get out your box truck and go ride a fucking bike. How about that?
Look, hey, it looks just like a box truck. So I don't see what the difference is. I just think it's more efficient. And so again, dude, I look at all of this stuff as inflation fighters. Right? I'm looking at the economic impact. Remember we was talking about this, Mike, like the inflation fighting aspect of micromobility?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's also the side where this goes into the economics, right? This fights inflation. You can reduce the cost of doing things. You're offloading the effects of inflation. As long as you're maintaining the same economic habits during a high inflationary period, you're gonna feel it in your wallet. As soon as you do things to adjust, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a little more, cash in your pocket. Simply put, not only does that work on the consumer level, where let's just say if you went and got an e-scooter to reduce your car usage by, let's just say 35%, okay? You're going to see the effect. You're going to have more money because you're not spending as much on gas, all right? That also goes for companies. That's why I was saying, okay, well, if what they're saying is that 2 of those cargo bikes, those quadricycles, can replace one of those, like, dude, I'll tell you right now, bro, like, just if one of those quadricycles broke, the cost to fix it is way cheaper than it is to fix that box truck.
And you don't have to tow it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know if you got a blown turbo, because you typically those are turbo, they're TDIs, turbo diesel injection. You know, so it's like when you look at the cost analysis of it, it just makes sense. That's why people are so split on this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, it's the perfect time to be inside the market right now. That's all I can say. It's the perfect time to be inside the market.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
I'd be interested in knowing what the technology is behind the quadricycle. You know, what kind of batteries are they using, and you know, what kind of transmission is it using on the pedal assist part? Is it Bosch? Is it
the same stuff.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if what they're using, because they haven't said anything. But what I'm saying, I'm curious to know what exactly are they putting inside this, because to be out there to move something like that with weight, that's going to take a considerable amount of effort. You're not just pedaling. That stuff needs a little bit more heft to it, you know, a little bit more oomph to it, so to speak. And so, especially when you start talking about crosswinds, it's windy and stuff like that, it becomes a challenge when you need to go uphill and stuff like that. So I'd be interested in seeing what they put into it in order to make it viable, because we know what the e-bikes are using, because everything is kind of exposed. With this, nothing is really exposed on here. It looks like it has some kind of center tunnel on it, so that could be where the battery is. Yeah.
I mean, the way I've seen them constructed, they use the same types of drivetrain components. So whether it's the Bosch, the Bafang, whatever motor kit we're talking about, right? It's just really, it's just in the configuration of the drivetrain. So now we're talking about 4 wheels instead of 2.
Complex, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. If you're speaking, Complex, like, we can't hear you. At least I can't.
And it works the same way. It's because it's hooked up to the same shit.
You borked out for about 30 seconds, Complex.
Okay, I jumped off of Wi-Fi again. I'm sorry. No, I was just saying that they're going to use the same type of components, because it's going to be the pedal components, right? So they'll use that. It's just the undercarriage and how it transfers and all that. That's just a little bit different, but it's the same shit, and bigger battery.
All right. Let me get to the last item on the docket. This is from Bloomberg, VC Spotlight, Bicycle Capital on Latin American Investments.
Picture Lumens about exactly what Motu is doing, how it's disrupting, because it's not just a cleaner way of doing motorcycles.
Yeah, actually the problem we're trying to solve, there is high unemployment in Brazil, in Latin, and people don't have access to credit either. So we are providing them a tool to work by renting motorcycles out to people without any requirements of credit. And we started about 3 years ago, just 50 bikes. In the first year, we deployed 1,000 motorcycles, and now we are deploying 1,000 every 10 days. Very excited to be here.
You're looking across Brazil, across Mexico. I mean, that must be what drew your attention, the growth. But is it also the opportunity, Shu, here, in terms of it being more about delivery as well and engagement in, well, the population?
Yeah, there are 2 things that got us really excited. First is the metrics. The numbers always speak for themselves, and Motu has incredible numbers. They're growing over 300%. They're not just gross profit profitable. They're not just EBITDA profitable. They're net income profitable, which is very rare for a startup. And they're very capital efficient. So that caught our attention. But then the opportunity is huge. Brazil is dominated in the motorcycle industry by one company, Honda, that has 70% of the market. And it's ripe for someone to come in and offer something different. So you put those together and you have the chance to create something really big and meaningful. And then you just export that playbook to Mexico and do the same thing.
Do you export it to elsewhere? You've just raised money. Is the idea about geographical reach? Is it more about building up the engineering, the talent? How do you deploy the money?
We are focusing on Brazil and Mexico now. All our growth from the assets comes from debt investors. So the way we were able to build a profitable company with very good economics is a very safe investment for that investors as well, the capital markets. And the money now is just to bring global talents for the company. We got huge companies like Nubank, Gympass in Brazil that were able to bring top talents, and we want to do the same.
It's interesting that you went for equity financing, but you have taken debt financing in the past. Is that something you analyze and look to?
We are all about doing that. We raised more than $70 million in debt so far. 100% of our capex is done with the capital markets with debt.
Shu, this moment when you're looking at writing these sorts of checks and seeing this sort of growth, how competitive is it? And I mean, there's Tiger Global's on this round as well. There's plenty of other big name VCs, and I'm interested as to what valuations you're currently looking at and how you're talking amongst other venture partners.
Yeah, the growth equity market globally has been a bit of a coma.
Yeah.
I'd say the patient's toes are twitching. So opportunities are starting to come up, but it's only the ones with really exceptional numbers that are getting people's attention, and those are getting people's attention. We're co-leading this with QED, which is a firm we respect, we've worked with before. The existing investors are all investing. So a company like Motu will never struggle to attract capital. The valuations are much more reasonable though. So nobody's overreaching when it comes to the number that they want. And I think that's healthy for everybody. It's healthy for the company. The other thing that's different is the time that these deals are taking to get done is slower. And that's also good for everybody. The companies get a chance to have investors really dig in, give them some feedback. Investors get much more comfortable with the companies. So I'd say we're entering a fairly healthy moment in the market, but only the best companies are able to attract capital right now.
And you do your due diligence. You also look at the landscape of Latin America, the countries you know and how to invest in so well. How does that regulatory landscape look for a company such as Motu? How do you look at other players in the space?
Yeah, the nice thing about tech in Latin America, in Brazil, is it's inclusive. The government is very supportive. It doesn't matter if it's the right or the left. The tech opportunity is about bringing more people into the economy. They're so deeply underserved, consumers and businesses both, so deeply underserved. So in the US, we tend to think of technology, AI is the latest boogeyman, as a threat to livelihoods. In Brazil, technology is often a key that unlocks livelihoods. And that's a fundamental difference. And so the governments get very behind that kind of idea. It's what makes tech in emerging markets so attractive. It's inclusive, it's not disruptive. And that tailwind helps all kinds of companies, especially like Motu, that are so obviously bringing opportunity to people.
Rubens, what you've done is you're saying you're able to provide these motorcycles, this way of making money to do deliveries to people who have either bad credit, no credit, but you must be using technology to understand what the risks are there. How have you managed to build out a credit company, an insurance company, a maintenance company out of basically a motorcycle company?
Basically, we know that we need to be the best option for people every day. So we use technology in everything to do a no-touch experience. And our team also have this frugality mentality to do more with less. So this is where, how we were able to build such a good economics net income company in these 3 years. I believe that very few companies got to really net profit company. We are all about serving people. And if we need to help them, we need to do a product that's cheap and better than they have their own motorcycles.
Many would think Brazil, political instability at times, economic instability at times. How do you push away from that narrative? How do you ensure that big, great, successful businesses can be built out in emerging markets in Latin America?
We are really a social business. We are pushing to help people and be a way of Latam to make a better place to people thrive and people have an opportunity to work. And doesn't matter who is the government in place, we are there to be part of the good.
Shu, you and Marcelo have really shone a light on Latin America. That's what Bicycle Ventures is all about, and the idea that people aren't seeing the opportunities. But are people seeing them more when you're having QED alongside you, when you're seeing repeat investors in the space? Is that starting to grow in consensus?
Not really. QED are unique. They've been in Latin America on the ground for quite a while, which is unusual for a global firm. We respect them for doing that. They have people in Sao Paulo, people in Mexico City. So they see what we see, which is markets that are ignored by global capital markets. They're side notes compared to the US and China, maybe even Europe, but the opportunity is much bigger than the capital available. So our fundamental view is there's just a dislocation in the market. People don't have the appetite or the patience to look past the headlines that you just called out, political instability, crime, inflation, and see the opportunities beneath. But if you look, they're great opportunities. So Nubank is the latest stunning example, probably the most valuable digital bank in the world, $40 billion market cap. There are many other companies coming that'll go public in the next couple of years that'll keep proving that Latin America can create a lot of equity value. And we like the situation where people are not paying as much attention because it's better for us.
And that's the market outlook. What do you say about that, Complex?
Well, he said something kind of key. He said, you know, they were kind of agnostic to left and right side of the political spectrum, right? That was a point that he made. So, you know, he was kind of making a point to just the impact of this technology, regardless of, you know, political alignments and what have you.
Well, he also said that the government is all in on it.
Right, so, exactly, that part too.
And so you got to have government buy-in before you have any sort of market traction. I think the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that they had such significant growth. You know, they're doing 10,000 bikes a year 2 years ago during the pandemic. Before, you know, at first launch, now you're talking about 10,000 a week. Or sorry, 1,000 a week before, right, instead of the 1,000 a year. So they're seeing significant growth and they're getting a lot of backing for it. And so, and they're a super app. They do rental of the bike, insurance of the bike, maintenance of the bike, and warranty of the bike. They cover all of that, and the healthcare coverage too. And the payment aspect, because you get paid right
they cover it top to bottom. Yeah, they cover it top to bottom.
And so there's a huge incentive for this. And so the underbanked and unbanked people have a place to go. This is the biggest challenge that we see in the Black community. Unbanked people and underbanked people not having access to capital. These are the challenges that Black people go through that they figured out in Latin America. We have not really figured this out yet, which is why, you know, some months ago, you heard myself and another former subscriber going back and forth. And I'm saying we need a new ecosystem. We need to have a different approach to this. They figured it out. We haven't really figured this out yet. Maybe because they're in Latin America, but in the United States, we really have not figured this out. We have not figured out a way to move capital closer to Black people so that they can actually put themselves in the right position to be, you know, major players within the market itself.
No, absolutely, dude. I mean, once again, man, this is just more or less to support what we've been saying, that this is just an emerging, not only a technology market, but it's also emerging in the logistics market and the transportation market. Like there's a whole bunch of different verticals, dude, that this technology is disrupting. That's really the ultimate takeaway from all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, they're not going to stay in Latin America. They're going to, you know, move across the Caribbean. You know, and potentially they could be a major player in Africa at some point, maybe in the western part of Africa. I think Africa does have a pretty significant potential for growth because there's 1 billion people plus on the continent itself. And so you really start thinking about this. You know, there's a lot of you can only go up with this. You can only scale up with it, and so there's no real downsides to this sort of to this market penetration at all. There's no downsides to it. People need to work, and moving people. The digitalization has enabled more work, more employment. And so I don't know why I don't hear more Black people really having these conversations, but I do know that we're having this conversation, and so those are my final thoughts. I think that the market is looking good. We saw what's happening in New York. You know, the sort of splitting of people about cargo bikes. We saw bike lane infrastructure, charging infrastructure be discussed. I think it's a great time to be in the market, personally.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, dude, what this is it's a disruptor when it comes to personal transportation. It's a disruptor when it comes to logistics, vis-a-vis things like delivery and what have you. And there's all these other, like I said, it's all new and emerging, dude. So, you know, we talk about this much like how people talked about Amazon and shit back in the Web 1.0 days and stuff. And then like Facebook in the Web 2.0 days, right? You see, so now we're in this kind of 3.0 paradigm, where now, you know, we're going into the age of fourth industrialization. And you just heard that guy right there, like the impact of this. You heard it. So I don't know, man. We'll keep hammering the message though. But that's my final thoughts, bro. I appreciate you for having me up.
Yeah, I just wanted to cover this brother's platform, Oni. We covered it earlier in the article just by happenstance that he had a platform. And so we're on the website right now. And what this is, actually, let me just go to the About page. Oni, secure parking is one of those problems that has plagued cities forever. From the start, we set out to do things differently with well-designed smart infrastructure that could scale as a turnkey network. After listening to communities, civic leaders, and transportation advocates for over a year, we designed a solution that would bundle design, financing, management, and operations all into the same simple package. The result is Oni, the first concession-based infrastructure solution for bike parking. Wow, this is
Damn, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, this is really something. Started by a brother. Let me go to his product page. So there's an app, 5 designs, 1 network. Our modular designs operate together to form the ultimate toolkit for urban bike parking. So it has pods, mini, light, and docking stations and hubs. A pod is placemaking and architecture for marquee spaces, 20 to 80 bikes. Look at this thing, man. Oh, we saw this before. We covered this before. Yeah, we covered this some months ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did. We covered this, I think maybe back in May or June. This docking station was a part of an article, a larger article, but we didn't know where it came from. Like the, I forget which article it was, but it's one of the micromobility podcasts we did before, but this was in it. And
so this is the dude, this is his joint.
This is his stuff.
Well, I'll be damned.
This is genius because what they did is they took up, I think 2 parking spaces on the street and had dropped it right on the street.
Yeah, they bird style.
Mini, the most advanced design solution for the curb. So it holds 8 bikes. Yeah, we covered this before. We didn't know who actually did it though, because we only saw the pictures of it. We didn't see the actual, the company behind it. Wow. Yeah. I got to tip my hat to this cat, man. This is,
Hey, look, dude. I don't know how many ways we gotta tell cats that, like, dude, this industry is calling us, bro. Like, that's all I can say, man. That's literally all I can say.
Yeah, the Oni OS, a seamless operating system for the Oni network. Oh man, this is yeah, we covered this before.
Damn, look at that. Dang, that looks sexy.
So what he's creating here is a bike hotel. This is a bike hotel.
Dang.
It looks like an Apple store from outside, but it's
I mean, dude, that's
actual,
what I'm saying. It's sexy as hell, dude. Looks like an Apple store, bro.
yeah, that was my first instinct when I looked at it, is that this is, you know, this must be they must have got somebody from the same design team from Apple, because it looks just like an Apple store.
Yeah,
but
an ex-Apple worker, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of companies now that can kind of copy and paste what Apple has done, but 100 bikes is a bike hotel, is basically what they call it in the Netherlands. I think they call it a bike hotel, and essentially it holds a maximum amount of bikes that one spot can actually hold traditionally. And so in Europe, they, you know, in the Netherlands, they have bike hotels that can hold 1,000 bikes, because the design it's multi-tiered. It's like a parking garage for bikes. I think
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, we covered it. I think we may have covered it briefly before, but the thing here is it's a black man behind all of this, right? And so we have been talking about this for a few years, that there's no safe place to really put your bike. I mean, we talked about bikes, you know, bike thieves and people cutting through locks and stuff like that. This is ingenious, because this adds to the environment itself. So if you put this in a predominantly black environment, this raises the value up significantly.
I mean,
because,
that's what we've been talking about, dude. It's like, if you wanna de-gentrify, right? De-gentrify meaning fight off gentrification. Okay, you got to bring this type of innovation, dude. You got to bring this in.
Yeah, and there's an operating system that goes with it. This is yeah, this is something. This is something. Yeah, this is a bike hotel. This is essentially what it is. All of the infrastructure and decorations and stuff. This is a bike hotel. Coming soon to Brooklyn. Wow. And the black man is behind this. And it just so happens that we happen to be reading an article that featured him as one of the you know, one of the people mentioned in his brand. I was like, let me look this up, because I've heard that name before. And here we are, and he has this multi-million-dollar platform that is going to revolutionize a lot of urban environments. More importantly, more black neighborhoods. I mean, who wants to leave their bike outside if they think it's going to be stolen, right? You put it in here, you have some rest assurance. This is let me look at this. Yeah, we covered this, man. We've seen this before, Complex. Remember we were talking about docking stations for bikes? This was back in I think June. And this came up. This was like one of our side pieces that we were covering before. But this is actually I'm at a loss for words for this, because I didn't know it was a brother that was behind this.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking butter laid. That is butter laid.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. My only concern is that, someone busts a glass, graffiti all over it. I worry about things like that.
I mean, I can't stand like people who can't really kind of respect something new.
Yeah.
They can't kind of just respect it for, it being something, that kind of adds something new to society and your environment. That's the one thing I don't like about it, man.
But it pays for itself. Complex. If you look at the outside, this is a LCD screen, right? It's an advertising screen. And so it fits right in within the environment. Now, how they were able to get this out there, I don't know. I don't know who approved of it, but it looks like this guy, let me go back to the front page. It looks like he's pretty cool with Mayor Eric Adams. Yeah, here's the picture right here. So it looks like, the leadership within NYC are pretty much on board with this. A black and brown led team of policy experts, designers, engineers, and advocates. See, I knew there was something more to this. Let me drop this link in the chat because I think people should see this for themselves and share it in their spare time. We got a lot of forward-thinking brothers out here, man, and they don't get any shine at all.
Like none, bro. None.
They don't get any shine out here, man. You got Paul Francis from Kidget. You got this brother Donnell Beard from Block Power. You got this brother with Oni. You got this other brother, Josh Aviv with Spark Charge. There's a lot of brothers out here who's getting it, man. And then,
you got the brain trust. The brain trust.
Yeah. But I'm saying outside of the manosphere, people don't realize that things are happening and moving, and they're not waiting on inflation to come down. They're not waiting on reparations. They out here getting it.
And they're not waiting on the damn gynocracy to get its act together either.
That too. That also. And so this is amazing.
Nah, that's good, man. I'm glad we were able to put a face to that, bro. Real talk.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming on, bro.
You got it, bro. Hey, I'll check in with you tomorrow, fam.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out. Share